All right, getting right into it. Today's deep dive is going to prep you for a Mechatronics Assembler interview.
Nice.
We're talking building, maintaining the future,
Mm.
advanced machinery blends mechanical muscle with, electronic brains,
Yeah.
robots, smart appliances, self-driving vehicles. It's all powered by Mechatronics.
Ooh.
Automation's on the rise, so those who can speak the language of both mechanics and electronics are in high demand. We're going to cover those typical questions you might hit and how to use RoleCatcher's AI to make your answers really pop. But before we jump into the interview hot seat, what does a Mechatronics Assembler actually do?
So a mechatronics assembler basically takes a blueprint of a complex system and makes it a reality. They assemble these super intricate mechanical parts, wire up electrical circuits, and then integrate these sophisticated electronic systems. So they're not just putting pieces together, they're really bringing these machines to life.
So very hands-on, working with physical tools and digital interfaces. Where would somebody in this role typically work?
Well, you'd find mechatronics assemblers in a ton of places, like manufacturing plants where robots are putting together cars or electronics. But you could also be in a research lab developing these cutting-edge prototypes.
Yeah.
Or even like on-site troubleshooting and maintaining these complex systems.
Sounds like a really cool blend of hands-on work and problem solving. What are some of the pros and cons of this career?
I think RoleCatcher's career guide really nails it here. I mean, the hands-on work, high demand, job security, and potential to work with really innovative technology, those are all huge pluses.
Sure.
But there are definitely challenges. The work can be pretty physically demanding, and it requires you to be constantly learning to keep up with the newest tech. It's a dynamic field that changes quickly, so you'll always be on your toes.
So let's dive into the heart of it, the interview. We've got 10 common questions that we'll break down, and we'll show you how to answer them strategically. Let's start with, can you explain your experience with CAD software? Now, it might seem straightforward, but what's the deeper layer to this question?
Yeah, it's not enough to just list the CAD software you've used. The interviewer really wants to see your proficiency. Think of it this way. They're not just checking if you can hold a wrench. They want to know if you can actually build an engine.
Got it. So how do you show off your CAD expertise effectively?
Specificity is key. Talk about concrete projects where you really applied your CAD skills. Like, let's say you used SolidWorks to design a robotic arm. Don't just say, I used SolidWorks. You want to explain how you used the 3D modeling to actually visualize the design, how you simulated its movement to optimize functionality, and how you generated those detailed technical drawings for manufacturing.
Okay, so paint a picture of your skills in action, not just stating facts. What about follow-up questions? Should you be ready to go deeper?
Absolutely. I mean, they might ask about specific features you used in the software, challenges you faced, or even how your design contributed to the project's success. So this is where your prep work really shines. Think about potential follow-ups in advance and have those examples ready to go.
Now, this is where RoleCatcher's AI can be a game changer.
Yeah, definitely. The AI can look at the specific job description and point out the most relevant CAD software skills for that role. It'll even help you tailor your answer to really highlight those skills.
Okay, question number 2. How do you troubleshoot a mechatronic system? This one feels a little more complex, like where do you even begin?
Okay, so mechatronic systems, right? They can seem like these super intricate puzzles, but to troubleshoot them effectively, you really just need a systematic approach.
Right.
Remember, you're working with a mix of mechanical, electrical, and electronic parts. So think of yourself as a detective. You got to gather the evidence, follow the clues, and rule out the suspects until you find that root cause.
Okay, walk us through that detective process. What are the steps?
So first, you got to clearly identify the problem. Like, what are the actual symptoms? What's not working the way it's supposed to? Then, gather info. Error codes, system logs, schematics, anything that can give you some insight. And then, systematically test the individual components. Use diagnostic tools, multimeters, whatever's appropriate for that system. And then be really thorough in documenting your findings. That structure is really important.
So be organized and thorough.
Exactly. Once you've got enough evidence, then you can figure out the root cause and suggest a solution. Explain how you would fix it, any safety precautions you would take, and how you would double-check that the fix actually worked.
So let's say a sensor isn't giving accurate readings. What kind of follow-up questions could they ask about that?
Oh, they might ask about, the types of sensors you're familiar with, how you'd test that specific sensor, or how you'd calibrate it to make sure it's accurate. They could even ask you to explain the different communication protocols that sensors use to send data. So be prepared to talk about your knowledge of sensors in detail.
Gotcha. And of course, RoleCatcher can help out here too.
For sure. The AI can pick out keywords related to troubleshooting and specific systems in the job description, and then it can help you emphasize the most relevant experiences in your answer. Plus, you can actually practice your answer and get AI-powered feedback so you know you're communicating clearly and concisely.
Nice. Okay, question number 3 gets into the brains of these systems. Can you explain your experience with PLC programming? Now, for someone who doesn't know, what exactly are PLCs?
Right, so PLCs, or programmable logic controllers, they're basically like specialized computers that control automated systems. Think of them like the conductor of an orchestra. They coordinate all the different instruments. In this case would be motors, sensors, actuators, all those different components.
Right.
They use a language called ladder logic, which is a little different from your typical programming language.
So when you're answering this question, should you focus on ladder logic specifically?
Definitely mention your experience with ladder logic, but also bring up any other PLC programming languages you know. And just like with the CAD question, talk about specific projects where you actually used your PLC programming skills. Don't just list the languages, show them how you've used them to solve real-world problems.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, so let's say you programmed a PLC to control a conveyor belt system. You would explain how you used ladder logic to define the whole control sequence, how you put in safety interlocks to prevent accidents, and how you tested that program thoroughly to make sure everything ran smoothly.
So you're not just a coder, but a problem solver who uses code as your tool. What are some follow-up questions they might ask here?
Yeah, they might want to dive into the specifics of your programming experience. They might ask about the types of PLCs you've worked with, specific challenges you faced while programming, or your approach to debugging PLC code. They could even ask about your understanding of communication protocols that PLCs use to talk to other devices.
And how does RoleCatcher's AI help someone prep for this one?
So the AI analyzes the job description and looks for any specific PLC programming languages or systems that they mention. This way, you can tailor your answer to highlight the most relevant experience and really impress the interviewer.
Makes sense. Question number 4 is a big one. How do you ensure that a mechatronics system meets safety standards? Clearly, safety is paramount when you're dealing with complex machinery. What's the key to nailing this question?
So it's all about showing them you have a proactive and comprehensive understanding of safety. It's not just about knowing the rules, it's about making safety a part of everything you do. The interviewer wants to see that you're not just building machines, but you're building them to be safe.
Right. So how do you convey that commitment to safety?
You start by showing off your knowledge of relevant safety standards. Mention specific ones like OSHA or ISO, depending on the industry and location. But go beyond just listing them and explain how you incorporate safety into your daily work. Talk about things like lockout-tagout procedures, safety guards, rigorous testing of safety circuits, anything that highlights that proactive approach to safety.
Okay, let's say you're working on a robotic arm that's going to be operating your human workers. What kind of follow-up questions might you get about safety?
Oh, they might ask about specific safety features you'd build into the robot's design, like emergency stop buttons, sensor systems to detect if someone's nearby, or force limitations to prevent the robot from using too much force. They might even ask about risk assessments, how you identify and mitigate potential hazards, or your experience with safety certifications for different machinery.
And I'm guessing RoleCatcher can help tailor the answer here too.
Yeah, absolutely. By looking at the job description, RoleCatcher's AI can actually pinpoint those safety-related keywords and highlight relevant safety standards or practices that you should emphasize in your answer. That way, you're addressing the company's specific safety concerns.
All right, this next question really gets at the heart of continuous learning in a field that's always evolving. Question 5 is, how do you stay current with new technologies and advancements in mechatronics? It's not enough to just say, I read articles, right?
Definitely not. You want to show them that you're not just keeping up, but you're actively seeking out the newest stuff. Mention specific actions like subscribing to industry publications, attending conferences or webinars, taking online courses, even following thought leaders on social media. And don't just list these things, give them concrete examples.
Okay, so instead of just saying, I attend conferences, how could someone make that answer more impactful?
You could say something like, I recently attended a conference on collaborative robots and learned about the latest advancements in sensor technologies for human-robot interaction. Now I'm exploring ways to incorporate those sensors into my current project to improve safety and efficiency.
Ah, so you're showing that you're not passively taking in information, you're actually
Yeah.
applying it. Now, what about follow-up questions here? What might they dig deeper into?
Oh, they might ask you to elaborate on a specific technology that you mentioned, discuss how you evaluate new technologies and how they relate to your work, or even ask for your opinion on an emerging trend in mechatronics. The key is to really show them your genuine curiosity and passion for staying ahead of the curve.
And how can RoleCatcher's AI help someone tailor their answer here?
It's great because the AI analyzes the job description and looks for any specific technologies or advancements that the employer mentioned. This lets you highlight those relevant learning experiences and showcase your knowledge of the latest developments in the field.
All right, question number 6 dives into a very specific area of mechatronics. Can you discuss your experience with motor control systems? I imagine this one can get pretty technical. How do you approach it without getting lost in the details?
Yeah, you're right. Motor control systems are a huge part of mechatronics, and this question is all about how deep your knowledge is in this area. The key is to balance theoretical understanding with hands-on experience.
Okay, so how do you hit that balance in your answer?
Start by explaining your understanding of different motor control strategies. Things like open loop and closed loop control, PID control, or even more advanced techniques like vector control. But don't just stop there, back it up with real-world examples from your own experience.
Give me an example.
You could say, I've designed and implemented motor control systems for various applications, from a high-precision robotic arm that uses encoders for position feedback to a conveyor system with variable speed control using a VFD.
And what kind of follow-up questions might come up here?
They might ask about specific motor control algorithms you've implemented, the types of motors you're familiar with, or challenges you faced when fine-tuning those motor control systems for optimal performance. They could even ask you to sketch a basic motor control circuit or explain the working principle of a certain control algorithm.
And again, RoleCatcher can help tailor this answer to the specific job.
Exactly. The AI looks at that job description and picks out keywords related to specific motor control systems or technologies. This helps you highlight your most relevant experience and showcase your expertise in the areas that matter most to the employer.
Okay, let's change gears a bit and talk about teamwork. Question number 7. How do you approach collaborative design and development with other engineers? This one's about those soft skills, right?
Totally. Mechatronics projects are rarely a solo thing. You're going to be working with mechanical engineers, electrical engineers, software engineers, a whole team of specialists. The interviewer wants to know that you can collaborate effectively and contribute to that shared vision.
Right. So how do you show off those collaborative skills?
Focus on your communication skills, your ability to manage priorities and deadlines, your openness to feedback, and your experience with conflict resolution. And again, don't just list those skills. Give concrete examples of how you've collaborated successfully in the past.
What's an example that would really illustrate those collaborative skills?
You could say something like, in my previous role, I worked with a team of engineers to develop a new automated packaging system. We used online collaboration tools to share designs and keep each other updated on our progress, had regular meetings to discuss challenges and coordinate tasks, and were always open to feedback and constructive criticism. This collaborative approach helped us deliver the project on time and within budget.
That paints a good picture of you working well within a team. What kind of follow-up questions could come from this?
They might ask about specific collaboration tools that you've used, your preferred communication style, or how you handle disagreements within a team. They could also ask about your experience working on projects with tight deadlines or competing priorities.
And how does RoleCatcher help with tailoring this answer?
So the AI analyzes the job description to find keywords related to teamwork, collaboration, or communication. It then helps you highlight experiences and skills that match the company's specific approach to teamwork, so you're essentially speaking their language.
Okay, we've covered 7 questions so far, and they've really gotten into the skills and experience needed for this role. We'll continue our deep dive and tackle the remaining 3 questions in the next part. Plus, we'll explore some more insights from the RoleCatcher Career Guide. But for now, take a moment to think about what we've discussed and how you'd approach these questions using the strategies we've talked about.
And remember, preparation is key to acing your interview. Think about those specific examples from your experience, practice your answers, and use RoleCatcher's AI to make sure you're presenting yourself in the best way possible. All right, welcome back to your Mechatronics Assembler interview deep dive. We've gone over some tough questions so far, but each one is a chance to show off your skills. Before we hit the next set of questions, I wanted to touch on something from the RoleCatcher Career Guide that really stood out.
Oh, okay. What caught your eye?
The section on specializations within mechatronics.
Okay.
It highlights that, yeah, a broad skill set is super important.
Yeah.
But focusing on one area can make you even more valuable.
Makes sense.
It's like, are you a multi-tool or a precision instrument? Sometimes you need that versatility, but sometimes that specialized expertise is what gets the job done.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mechatronics covers so many areas: robotics, automation, control systems. You could really find a niche for yourself.
Exactly. The guide doesn't go into specific specializations, but it encourages you to explore and find areas that you're interested in that play to your strengths.
Yeah.
Find that sweet spot where your passion meets what the industry needs.
So, good advice. As you're gaining experience, keep an eye out for those areas that you're really interested in and see if you can develop those specialized skills. Great advice. Okay, let's get back to those interview questions. Where did we leave off?
We were about to dive into the world of sensors with question number 8. Can you discuss your experience with sensor systems? This one is all about showing that you understand how these essential components make these mechatronic systems work.
Right. Sensors are everywhere these days, even in our smartphones. But when it comes to mechatronics, why are they so important?
Well, think of sensors like the eyes and ears of a mechatronic system.
Okay.
They provide the data, right, that lets the system understand its environment, make decisions, and take action. Without sensors, these systems would be blind and deaf, unable to interact with the world around them.
So when you're answering this question, it's not just about naming different types of sensors. It's about showing you really get their role and how to use them effectively.
Exactly. So start off by mentioning the types of sensors you're familiar with. Proximity sensors, pressure sensors, temperature sensors, optical sensors, the list goes on. But then go deeper than just the names. Talk about specific projects where you actually use these sensors. Explain how you picked the right sensor for the job, how you calibrated it for accuracy, and how you integrated it into the whole system.
So let's say you worked on a project with a robotic arm, and it used vision sensors to identify and pick up objects. What kind of follow-up questions could you get?
Well, they might ask you about the specific type of vision sensor you used, the algorithms involved in image processing, or, the challenges you faced getting accurate object recognition. They might even ask about lighting considerations, how the environment affects sensor performance, or the safety protocols you put in place to make sure the robot doesn't misunderstand the visual data.
And of course, RoleCatcher's AI can help tailor that answer to the specific job description, right?
Absolutely. The AI can identify keywords related to specific sensor technologies or applications that the employer mentions. This lets you focus on your most relevant experience and show off your skills in the areas that are most important to them.
Okay, on to question number 9, which is all about putting the pieces together. How do you approach system integration and testing? This seems like a critical part of any mechatronics project. What's the key to impressing the interviewer with this one?
So it's all about having a systematic approach.
Okay.
The interviewer wants to see that you get it. System integration isn't just about connecting the parts. It's about making sure they work together seamlessly and reliably.
Yeah, so it's not just about plugging things in. It's about understanding how all the parts work together.
Exactly. So start by explaining how you make sure all the components, both hardware and software, are properly connected and talking to each other. You can talk about techniques you use, like checking wiring diagrams, verifying communication protocols, or using simulation software to test things out before you physically connect everything.
And then you have the testing phase, which I'd imagine is pretty extensive.
It is, and that's where you show how detail-oriented you are when it comes to quality. Explain the types of tests you do. Functional tests, performance tests, safety tests, stress tests. Be specific. Don't just say, I tested the system. Tell them exactly what you tested, the tools you used, and how you decided whether the system passed or failed.
Okay, let's say you're integrating a new robotic arm into an existing production line. What are some follow-up questions you might get about testing?
They might ask about specific challenges you face during integration, how you troubleshoot problems, or your process for documenting those test results. They could also ask about your experience with automated testing tools, your understanding of industry standard testing procedures, or how you work with other teams during the integration and testing phase.
And RoleCatcher's AI is helpful here too.
Oh, for sure. By analyzing the job description, the AI can highlight specific testing methodologies or tools that the employer mentioned. This lets you tailor your answer and show that you're familiar with their preferred practices.
Okay, so the final question in our set of 10 really gets at the ongoing part of this job. How do you approach system maintenance and repair? This seems like it goes beyond just fixing things when they break.
It definitely does. This question is all about your ability to keep those complex mechatronic systems up and running, minimize downtime, and ensure they're reliable in the long run. It's about being proactive, not just reactive.
So it's about having a plan for maintenance, not just fixing things when they go wrong.
Exactly. Start by talking about how you diagnose problems effectively. Explain your process for troubleshooting, using diagnostic tools, looking at system logs, or using schematics to figure out why something failed.
And then, of course, you have to actually fix the problem once you've found it.
Right. Describe how you approach repairs. Like, is it replacing parts, rewiring circuits, reprogramming software, or even making mechanical adjustments? But don't just stop there. Talk about your approach to preventative maintenance.
Can you give an example of what you mean by preventative maintenance?
Sure, let's say you're taking care of a whole bunch of automated guided vehicles, AGVs, in a warehouse.
Okay.
You could explain how you create and follow a regular maintenance schedule, inspecting key components like wheels, motors, batteries, sensors, lubricating moving parts, and replacing worn-out parts before they fail.
That shows you're thinking ahead and trying to prevent problems before they affect operations.
Yeah.
What are some follow-up questions they might ask in this area?
Well, they might ask about specific preventative maintenance techniques that you're familiar with, your experience with condition monitoring or predictive maintenance tools, how you document and keep records, or even your ability to train other people on proper maintenance. They might also dig into your experience with the specific equipment or systems they mentioned in the job description. So be ready to talk about those maintenance requirements.
And of course, RoleCatcher can help tailor this answer.
Oh yeah, for sure. The AI breaks down the job description and finds any specific maintenance practices, tools, or technologies that the employer brought up. This lets you highlight relevant experience and show that you understand their specific needs.
Awesome. So we've covered 10 detailed questions.
Yeah.
We didn't just give you answers, but strategies to approach them like a pro. But RoleCatcher offers more than just interview question prep. It has some powerful AI tools that can help you create a standout application and really refine your answers.
It's true. You know those applicant tracking systems, or ATS?
Uh-huh.
They can be a real pain. They scan resumes for keywords.
Right.
And if yours doesn't have the right ones, it might not even get seen by a real person.
Yeah, those ATS systems are tough.
That's where RoleCatcher's AI comes in.
Yeah.
It looks at the job description and figures out the keywords and skills that will help your resume get past the ATS and into the hands of the hiring manager.
So it helps you get your foot in the door, which is half the battle sometimes. But what about after you get the interview? How does RoleCatcher help you prep for that?
Well, remember those practice answers we talked about? RoleCatcher does more than just let you practice. It gives you AI-powered feedback on your answers. It checks for clarity, conciseness, and how well it matches the job description. It's like having a virtual interview coach in your pocket.
So it's not just about what you say, it's about how you say it. And for people who get nervous during interviews, that feedback could be so helpful.
Totally. And if you want to take your prep to the next level, RoleCatcher has a video practice feature.
Uh-huh.
So you can record yourself answering interview questions and get AI-powered analysis of your performance.
Oh, wow. So it's like a mock interview with an AI evaluator. That's incredible. Okay, before we finish up part 2, let's recap what we've covered.
So we finished going over those 10 super important interview questions, talking about sensors, system integration and testing, and system maintenance and repair.
Right, and we looked at how RoleCatcher's AI can help you make a great resume that gets noticed, improve your answers to wow the interviewer, and even get better at your delivery with video practice. All right, welcome back to the final part of our Mechatronics Assembler deep dive. We've covered a lot, from those tough interview questions to how RoleCatcher's AI can help you land that dream job.
Yeah, and we even sprinkled in some great career advice from the RoleCatcher Career Guide along the way.
We did. But before we wrap up completely, there's one more thing from the guide that I think is really important.
Oh, okay. What is it?
It's the section on educational pathways.
Okay.
It talks about all the different educational backgrounds that can lead to a successful career as a mechatronics assembler. It's not a one-size-fits-all path, which I think is pretty cool.
So it's not just about having a certain degree.
Exactly. While a degree in mechatronics engineering is definitely a solid foundation, there are other ways to get there.
The guide mentions degrees in mechanical engineering, electrical engineering, industrial engineering, robotics engineering, automation engineering. Even computer science or software engineering can be relevant, especially since software is becoming more and more important in mechatronics.
Wow, that's a lot of options.
Yeah.
It really shows how interdisciplinary this field is. So somebody with a passion for technology and a knack for problem solving could get into this career from many different starting points.
Yeah, absolutely. And the guide also emphasizes the value of practical experience, things like internships, co-op programs, or even personal projects. It's all about combining that theoretical knowledge with real-world skills.
So it's not just what you learn in school, it's about using that knowledge in real-life situations.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Now, before we officially wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with something to think about as you start your Mechatronics Assembler journey.
Okay.
As technology keeps advancing so quickly, what new skill do you think will be essential for mechatronics assemblers in the next 5 years?
Wow, that's a really good question. It's something to think about as you prepare for your interviews and even as you move forward in your career. It shows you're not just thinking about right now, but you're looking ahead to the future of this field.
Right. It might even spark an interesting conversation with the interviewer.
Exactly. Showing that you're forward-thinking and that you're committed to keep learning is a great way to make a good impression. All right, so that brings us to the end of our Mechatronics Assembler deep dive. We covered everything from the core skills and responsibilities to those tricky interview questions. And we even looked at how RoleCatcher's AI can help you stand out from the crowd.
And don't forget, you can dig even deeper into those full career and interview guides on RoleCatcher for more personalized guidance, in-depth insights, and a ton of resources to help you ace that interview and build a successful career in this exciting field.
Best of luck with your interview. We're confident that with all the knowledge and strategies you've learned from this deep dive, you'll be on your way to shaping the future, one mechatronic system at a time.